afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. Hey, I'm Davonte Stone, the Stone Pony, and this is an Illinois Media School production. I want to just first of all say that I'm really happy and thrilled to be here in Windy City Underground, sitting next to the guy who I'm about to introduce. I've known this guy, and it goes way back because of who he's also cousins with, right? Our industry, the radio and television industry, is big, but it's also small. What do I mean by that? Even though Chicago's the third largest market, man, let me tell you something. Everybody knows everybody when it comes to what we do. This gentleman here, when I first came to the school back in 2011, okay, was already here. He was teaching. He was also the program director of this station, which is Windy City Underground. We're going to talk a little bit about it. Today, he is the managing editor of Reach Media. And if you don't know what Reach Media is, Google it. And if you Google it, it's going to fall right there. But I'm going to have him talk about it. But I want everybody to put a big, warm welcome and show some love for JR.
This is you right here.
JR Bang.
What's going on, man?
What's up, man?
Look, like I told you before we got started, I never thought this would be happening right here.
Yeah, this is really, it's something that comes forward, though. You know, they say it always comes.
This is definitely a full circle moment, a bucket list moment.
A bucket list, bucking it up moment.
I mean, you talked all of that, but you a legend. Like, you speak about family. My cousin is Sam Silk, who was formerly for WGCI. Now you can hear him here in Chicago. On Streets 95.1, but he also does middays in Cleveland, WENZ. So I've been knowing you before I even wanted to be in this business and just listening to the radio. So, now, seeing you as, a contemporary now, this is definitely a full circle moment. Never expected anything like this, but I'm excited to be interviewed by Davonte Stone.
This guy. Hey, give him a round of applause. I don't know how much. I think what he did, he went to the Cash App and he, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Bang be knowing it's a Cash App, man.
Yeah, the Cash App.
So y'all can hit me with the Cash App.
Come on, both of us. We both Chicago guys. We need money. Even though he's got a huge position right now, and he's got a wonderful family. We're going to talk about all of that because I want to know how the kids is doing. Every time I look up, I see you on Facebook. And that's one thing about social media. It's so good that we can kind of still always kind of chime in, even though we may not, because that's the way it is sometimes because of our livelihood. And we're always busy. We're always going to the next thing and trying to figure out what that next big element is going to be. But I just want to just kind of talk about, first of all, your years here. You were so influential about the identity, about putting an identity with Windy City Underground. Yeah. And I want to talk a little bit about it because I remember, and we kind of talked about it before the interview, Beyonce Fox, who is also a big name in this business and someone that I've worked with iHeart. Actually, she did what? Bang, she started it?
Yeah, so when I graduated from, again, the greatest ICB class of all time.
And when he says, listen to me, when he says ICB, and that's for those who don't know, that used to be Illinois Center of Broadcasting.
So so now it's Illinois Media School, but we're the greatest class ever. June on that
great class.
That's that. We don't joke around when we say we're the greatest.
Name some of those people that was up that class, man.
All right. So first of all, my boss actually, AC Tribula. She is the director of content.
The Plug.
Yep, AC the Plug.
What's up, Plug?
Yeah, so AC
love AC. Ain't talked to her in a minute.
And she's my boss. What I'm saying? She's the director of content. My man, Cam Pruitt. He was formerly at Radio 1, but now he's doing his own thing with Shine Productions. We got Rick Camp, who's a graduate of
Rick.
We had Rick in that class.
Rick was in that class.
Yep, he was at Odyssey for a while. So that's just a few right there. You know what I'm saying? Like that class, we really banded together. Me, AC, Cam, our girl Kim, she's out in Florida right now, and Rick and a couple of others. We wanted to make sure that iron sharpens iron, steel sharpens steel. So like we made sure that we was on point for anything and everything. And now you see all of us doing our thing in this business.
Man, you guys are doing great things though.
Yeah,
Marvelous things. And I think that's the big I talk to students all the time, and the program when you were going was a year.
No, it was actually 10 months. At the
it
time.
was 10
and
months,
then
right?
It went to a year.
It went to 10 months, and then now it's only 8 months. And I tell these students all the time, guys, do what you do now here, where you're gonna take this, and it's gonna take you to other places.
And you might not like it's really true now. You might be sitting next to your boss.
Ain't that something?
A co-worker and boss. And the thing is like me and my boss was classmates.
Yep.
And she helped me get the job where I'm at, and now she's the director of content, and she calls me her number 2. So
and it's amazing when you can network like that. People don't know it. You know people, but the networking game, y'all, and you know it, it's serious.
Yeah.
If you're not networking with the right people, you may not get hired.
Man.
So yes, you're gonna learn it. You're gonna learn the software. You're gonna learn Adobe. You're gonna learn Adobe Premiere. You're gonna learn all of those things. But are you networking?
Right.
And you got to make sure too that the network in this industry is so small. You got to be making sure you do the right things. You don't want to get blackballed. You don't want to have a situation where somebody picks up a phone and be like, "Oh, that person," because it can happen. And you were wondering, like, why didn't I get hired? Because of maybe some baggage or something that kind of took place, right? Bang, you came on, and that was a strong class when I tell y'all, because they're all doing marvelous things right now. But I want to kind of concentrate on you, because to become the managing editor for Reach Media, tell people what Reach Media is.
So Reach Media is the syndicated arm for Urban One. So you might not necessarily, we don't have a station in Chicago, but we have all of the shows. The Morning Hustle that was formerly at Power 92 is one of those shows on the syndicated arm of Reach Media. Tom Joyner founded Reach Media.
The man!
We see this at Tom Joyner studio over there. So you have that. Get Up Mornings with Erica Campbell, the DL Hughley show, Posted on the Corner with Incognito, the Willie Moore Jr. show, Al B. Shore at Night. Like those are just some of the
Al B. Shore is doing this thing.
Yeah, so those are just some of the shows that we have on Reach Media, and I oversee all of their editorial, digital, and social media.
And what is your job consist of when you say that? What do you do?
Well, it consists of me looking at my phone just in case something in the world happened right now. Like, it's an edit button coming to Twitter finally. But yeah,
wow, you see that?
So
that's good stuff. And what you just did, that's amazing to me, because that doesn't happen anymore. How people get that one bit of information, and then you could take it and you can be the first one to deliver that information.
Yeah. So basically, the job is content. Like everything is content. So from writing articles and aggregating articles from our national platforms, Hello Beautiful, News One, Hip Hop Wired, Global Grind, and so on and so forth. Videos. So like I was telling my man Jose right here, like what he's doing right now. We have people that's going to these studios to film that for the syndicated shows, film it, edit it, social media, making sure that it gets out there. And then there's other technical things too, like making sure that you're hip to all of the new things that's going on right now. Like we see StreamYard right here during the pandemic. We used it a lot. Like we started using that a lot, and we ended up actually using StreamYard to produce a town hall that we produced for TV One. So you have that. You have search engine optimization. Basically, honestly, everything that we did here at ICB, plus a little bit more, is what I do at my job. There's only like a couple of things where we did not do at IMS that I do at my job.
Like what? Like
for example, search engine optimization, SEO. And I'll say this, like when I went, there was no digital classes. It was just radio, TV. But then, as I started GN and teaching and running WindyCityUnderground.com, and start breaking into digital stuff. Now, let's be real. A lot of people look at the digital stuff, writing articles and things of that nature, and be like, all right, just put me back in radio. And at the time, I get it. But then when you get a job that focuses on writing content, writing articles, hitting on breaking news, hitting on evergreen content and everything, like people don't know and understand that job right there might be one of the most secure jobs in radio. Being a digital person, being a radio personality, and you know this more than I do. You got a number one show in your city. You could be good, but then the program director just says, you know what? I need another voice, so I'm going to go ahead and replace you. Same thing with TV, but in digital, you always gonna need somebody to film an interview. You always gonna need somebody to edit it. You always gonna need somebody to get all of those things on the site. You're gonna need somebody to get it on social media. We are the utility people, and that's more of the reason why I ended up taking it's fall for longevity. Like everybody knows JR Bang for the radio person and doing what I'm doing here. But now I'm low key. I'm writing articles. I'm running digital for a major company.
You wasn't doing that.
And all it.
This guy.
And I was. I just didn't know this was a job.
Wow.
Like and just to go back to the beginning of WindyCityUnderground.com to make it make more sense. So I graduated and I was interviewing for the job that I end up getting in the first place. Beyonce Fox calls me, says, "Hey, we're starting the station. Come down, slide, see if you're interested." So I go down there, I'm like, yeah. And I am probably out of everybody who end up being at the station, like Drushan Williams, who some of you might know. Yeah. And Big Med, shouts out to Big Med and a couple other people's
Big Med.
Rest in peace, LJ, and a couple of others. I was the newbie. I was the one who just graduated. So Beyonce was the program director, and Janelle Williams, she was the assistant program director. Mm-hmm. So we come down, and Beyonce says, she started asking us about day parts and who wants to do what. So she was like, who wants to do mornings? So I looked at everybody. I know I'm the newbie, so I'm trying to prove myself. And I say, hey, I'll do mornings. And Beyonce that's a Monday through Friday thing, right? I didn't know. I was just like, I'll do mornings. So I was like, okay. And mornings is the face of the station, right? Mm-hmm. I guess I'm the face of the station then. So basically, since day one, was doing mornings for the station. And then Janelle was like, yo, we need to do more. So I credit Janelle really for, doing what we're doing right now with the StreamYard. We was doing live Ustream at the time and tweeting out who I'm playing and everything. And I didn't get the job at the time. I had to take it seriously. And then I started to take it seriously, and then people started to notice through Twitter. So shouts out to Brianna Gatlin. She was one of the first people.
Wow. She was talking about her the other day.
She's one of the first people who Swank PR. And they actually just had a block party
this past weekend. Because Bree Specific was also a part of that. We were talking about that too as well. And Brianna's always done great things.
Yeah. So Bree, I never forget getting the tweet from her like, "Yo, why are you playing my artist stuff?" I was like, "Because it's in the system." She's like, "Yeah, well, it was a GLC song. I can't remember the song, but she was like, I represent him. Can we get people on for interviews?" And I was like, "All right, cool." Then we started filming the interviews and people start seeing a bit more and everybody start challenging each other. And then it went from, us just starting to a couple of years later, people knowing the name and everything. And then I end up being the program director and, we took off even more.
It took off even more and somebody had the foundation. That's like, give it up. Give it up. What kind of audience is this? Hello. Okay. So, but here's the thing, JR, and you took it. It's about the steps, and then you took it to where Windy City became Windy City. Right. I mean, you'll be around. I remember before coming to the school, I was like here in Windy City, but I didn't realize that Windy City was actually a part of the school.
Because originally it was always in the school, but it was a separate entity. Mm-hmm. So at the time, they allowed us to run this like we would run a station. So even at that time, we didn't even have students on the station. Mm-hmm. Like we had, so we was building it as that. Eventually students got on, but then students saw like if you was gonna grace this mic, you couldn't be on bull. You had to be on point. And it was a combination of students and former students or people who just graduated from other places who was trying to make it in this industry. Like there's a lot of people that was all on Windy City that's doing major things that I know we'll get to. Yeah. But between those people and the students, it was just a perfect ecosystem to grow talent. And that's what we did over those years that I was there.
Boy, did they grow the talent. Oh my God, because people were, and we talk about this all the time, to try to get a radio job in this business, then what they're going to ask us for is 5 years radio experience, right? They're going to say to you, do you have 5 years of radio experience? But what that did was gave our students opportunities to do their shows where they were getting the experience. And so now, yes, here's my show, here's my demo, here's my air check. Yeah, I've been on the air at Windy City Underground. It helped. Nowadays, podcasting and all of that are extensions of the brand, and you got to continue to do that as well. But it opened up so many doors for students. And then the likes of having, I remember, oh my God, I was there when we had Kalani there. We had BB Winans there. We had, oh my God, we had people walking out the studio sometime. I'm like, oh, hey. I'll be like, can I get a picture real quick? Let me take this,
like shouts to Bree. Because Bree fought for me, the first celebrity that I brought to WindyCityUnderground.com was Malice from the Clips.
Malice, that's right.
Wow. I'm a Clip stan, ladies and gentlemen. I love the Clips. They make me feel like I'm a drug dealer when I listen to them. So, like, grinding, all that stuff, like, the Clips is me. So when she said that, Dave Jeff, shouts out to Dave Jeff, had brought Malice over. He had wrote his book at the time, and he was doing a small performance. And I was nervous as all, and I'm rarely nervous. But that moment, I'm like, yo, I can't be around here messing up in front of Malice. And we have a smaller studio. So how me and Stone is right now, the studio was no bigger than what we were standing right now. Chicagoland had the bigger joint. We had the closet. So Malice calmed me down and everything. We finished the interview, took the picture and everything. And then that's when people start paying attention. So even like in those beginning stages, like we had Malice come up, we had Rotimi come up. And the great thing about Rotimi is he was going to Northwestern at the time. We like Big Med and I was his first interview, and then we did an event that we partnered with a company with, and he performed and won the competition. So when we look at people like Rotimi, who I saw a couple of years ago in DC, and he was like, yo, what you doing here? It's like, yo, I work here, man. Right. Like, that's part of that small world. But, he's telling people in the studio, and at an award show that we did, it's like, Bang gave me one of my first interviews, and I'm just sitting there like humble, like, man, I'm trying to work right now. And I didn't even really want people to know like that side, because I'm this side and I don't want nothing to take away.
And I'm gonna say this about this, brother. Talk about people in our business, guys. Let me tell you, our business is ego driven.
Right.
And what I mean by that, you're gonna meet people as you go, you're gonna say to yourselves, wow, they know their ego is like
But you know what, Stone? This
you
is
know
what I
learned. Yeah, go ahead.
But this is what I learned, Stone. You gotta have an ego to be in this business. Yeah. Like just make sure that the ego stays in the station. Make sure that the ego stays when you're working, because I've seen people with those big egos, and then when things don't work out, it's wild. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've been in this business, you've had jobs, you've been on afternoons, and you've been let go.
It's a part about that whole thing, but because the reason why I say that, and I know where he's going with that, is because a lot of times, sometimes you do have to humble yourself.
Yeah.
And I tell you this, and Tinker's standing right back there. I can't director. When you humble yourself, a lot of times, because yes, it's ego is 99% of the business. But sometimes, like you said, you got to know how your ego to check it, because it's major. And you got to kind of remain humble a lot of times in order to do what? To receive certain things. That's what I meant by that,
And I'm in the egoless position.
Yeah.
So,
but I'm saying this man, to me, never had, I swear to you, never showed me that ego part, but things were still happening for him.
But this is why, Stone. This is why. And I think this is probably the most important thing. We're going to talk about some other stuff, but I think this is the most important thing that I can pass on to all of you all that's here and some of the people that's going to watch. The reason why, because I never, even though I was doing what I was doing at WindyCityUnderground.com, I knew that there was other places that I needed to be. So it was all work for me. It was all work. It was all grind. I regret some things now, like taking pictures and things of that nature, because some of the people that came up in the building, people have to force me to take a picture with T.I. and Trey the Truth.
This is true.
Up in there. But it was mainly because the work is over. I got to get back to this other stuff too. And sometimes I didn't stay in the moment in some cases, which kind of hindered my development, so to speak, in certain areas. But I knew that this wasn't the end all be all, and I knew I had places to go. So I looked at what I did is what it was. It was a job. I wasn't getting paid to be on air or anything like that. It was a job. And everything that I told the students is I know when y'all come up here and y'all do a radio show and everything, and y'all feel like y'all on top of the world because now people get to log on the website or log on to tune in and they can listen to you and all that. And that's cool. But you have to learn how to do the job while you're doing the job. If you go to other places, you don't get that opportunity. So the people that's successful off of this radio station, they knew that they had to do the job within the job. So making sure that the promos run, making sure that the commercials run at the time that it's supposed to run, make sure your sweepers and your drops is playing, making sure you filming your interviews and editing your interviews and getting it up, making sure your social media is tight. If you ain't doing none of that, but you just happy to be on the radio, those are the people that's not doing anything right now. You really have to take what you do here seriously. You have to treat it like Stone to treat it on the air, like Beyonce Fox, who treated on the air when you hear her from 10 to 2, like I would if I was on the air, like a Tom Joyner, like a Morning Hustle, like all of those things. All those people, you got to take it seriously because that 2 to 4 hours you own is 2 to 4 hours worth of air checks. What you do on social media is 2 to 4 hours of posting to see for program directors to see that you know what you're doing. Those 2 to 4 hours is probably more important than what you do anywhere else because that's literally the on-the-job training. And that's what I wanted to make sure for anybody that did a show on WindyCityUnderground.com. You can play all you want to, but when you hit that mic and you say WindyCityUnderground.com, your music, your station, it's go time. And it's great to still hear WindyCityUnderground.com, your music, your station. That didn't change. I'm happy about that.
And right, because being consistent with branding and positioning is so important, identity. Talk about your day's work. Like, how many hours? What is your in the morning? What is the start?
Currently, my job right now. Yeah. Oh man, y'all don't really want to know that.
I do.
It started about 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, like you're doing a morning show.
Yeah, but I always function like I did a morning show. And so 4 o'clock, 4 or 5, and then plus I got 3 kids. One of them gonna be up and crying and stuff. So like,
I knew this man when he wasn't even married.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's another thing.
That's another thing.
Yeah,
but yeah, my day starts about like 4 or 5 o'clock. So I get to the computer. I make sure all of our sites have the correct, like, good stories up. Make sure that our sites are updated. So when you come to the site, you see new, fresh content. Make sure that go to Twitter, go to Facebook, go to Instagram, go to Trend, see what's trending, going everywhere, and see if I have stuff that's matching what's going on. And then plus I have morning shows that I got to work with. So I personally is more hands-on with Get Up Erica and the Russ Parr Morning Show. We have one of my employees, India. She takes care of the Ricky Smiley Morning Show. And one of our employees, Crystal, and my main man, Justin, they take care of the Morning Hustle. So they're in Atlanta. Mind you, I'm here. India's in Dallas with the show. Crystal and Justin is in Atlanta. I'm in Chicago. So I'm making sure that they're straight doing what they're doing. I'm making sure all of the sites are updated. If some stuff that's happened, some breaking news or some news that we need to get up, I make sure along with my team that we make sure that gets up. We got to make sure social media is populated too. They might have an interview that needs to be filmed. Somebody might be coming in. So I'm trying to make sure that they have all of what they have from where I'm at to make sure that they can do their job correctly. And we got to make sure that we get all those social pieces up in a quickly and timely manner, because depending on when you put it out a couple of hours later, it might be too late. So we want to make sure that we catching on trending topics too. I have a writer. His name is Higgs. Collaborate with him to make evergreen content. You know what I'm saying? You know, articles, galleries, and things of that nature. All of that stuff happens before I even have a meeting that may be like about 9, 10 o'clock. Like on Mondays, I have meetings pretty much all throughout the day, whether it's with our I1 team, and we're all talking about, you know, what's going on globally, what Hello Beautiful is doing, Hip Hop Wired is doing, News One is doing, Cassius is doing, all of those sites, and what we're doing for local and for reach. Then from there, I might have meetings with, you know, some of our syndicated shows. So we got the EPs, and we got to get numbers too. We got to know our analytics. That's some of the stuff that, like Google Analytics. If you're not aware of Google Analytics, if you don't know it, please get on there and make sure that you're efficient in it. So I got to make sure and tell the team where the site is and where it could be. you know, where we are trending for the year, all of those things, and why are we doing this? So I can't just go up there and be like, hey, we're the Google Analytics. Okay. Hey, I can't just get on phone or Teams and be like, yeah, you know, the Morning Hustle is having the best month ever. You know, we has over 2 million people on the site. Last year at this time, we had 20,000. I got to be able to tell them why. So social media, Facebook Insta articles, Twitter's doing this thing, Instagram is doing this thing, search engine search is doing this thing. So we've created articles and did what we did with the URL and keywords to when you go to Google and you search something is at the front of the page. So that's so that job, and mind you, I'm working from home. I got 3 kids. So, you know, while I'm doing that, I might have a 3-year-old or a 1-year-old running around talking about I need a pamper change. I got to do that out. I got to do that throughout the whole day. And that's not even talking about contests, events that I need to be aware of. We're pushing the time to join the Fantastic Voice. So tell all y'all OGs to go ahead. Your mama going? Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. You know, so we're pushing events, and like the Tom Jordan Morning Show was a big deal for for the company and everything. So we got to make sure we're on point. And now we're bridging into podcasting. So I got to make sure that that's taken care of too. So basically, my hands is involved with everything. I didn't even say sales, and you got that too. Making sure that you're working with them to get what they need and make sure what they need is going out because you don't want to miss out on the money. So yeah, I do probably too much according to people, but it's one of the things that actually I told Tinka, like when I got the job, I first got the job in St. Louis in 2015. As soon as the first person came up in the building, I was like, oh, so you mean to tell me everything that I did here is what I'm about to do right now, except not do the interview? Wow. So yeah, so I was prepared for it. You were prepared, and everything that you did, guys. Did you hear what he just said? He was prepared. Yeah, I think that's a word. Yeah. He was prepared. But I wasn't BSing. But what prepared him? Everything prior to before he got to where he was doing all of the extra work and the hard work, the stuff that some people may not even do, and it's going to be a lot of people in this business that's not going to want to do it, and those are the ones who are going to miss out. Yes. But this man, he put his time and he's putting his work in. Yes. So when you're done, like at the end of the day, because you're working from home, ain't done. You're not. Well, in this business, personality might be done, but salespeople not necessarily done. Your program director's not necessarily done, and for a digital person, they ain't really done. Let's say and I'll use a perfect example because it happened yesterday. So gospel singer Ernest Pugh puts on his Instagram page that Sissy Houston had died. If you guys don't know who Sissy Houston is, Sissy Houston is the mother of Whitney Houston. So I see that. I go on. Now, mind you, this happens maybe about 6-7 o'clock at night. So I'm done. I've been done. I'm done from East Coast time standards. But I see that. I hit the management up like, yo, did y'all see that? We haven't seen it from nobody reputable. So I hit my write-up and just say, hey, write a shell of an article. If this is true, we know to push publish and go there. But if it's not true, we're gonna get what we need to edit it, but don't even put it on the site and leave it in draft. So somebody might publish it by accident. Right. So he did that. This morning I look and I see that Dionne Warwick, who was at the US Open, so show you how stories double each other. Yeah. For those who don't know, Sissy Houston is Dionne Warwick's auntie. Right. Dionne Warwick and Whitney Houston are cousins. Yes. So at the US Open, Dionne Warwick comes on the screen and the announcers call her Gladys Knight instead of Dionne Warwick. Wow. But at the same time, the Sissy Houston thing is going on. And I know my first thought was, damn, if Sissy Houston is dead, I think Dionne Warwick would have dipped from the joint. Or maybe she don't know. Later on that night, because Dionne Warwick, who's in her 70s, is now very proficient in Twitter, tweets out that her auntie is alive and well, and Ernest Pugh don't know what he's talking about. Wow. So then I sent the message to my writer, who already had the share wrote to say, hey, man, here go the tweet that she put. Go ahead and change that story and put it out. Mind you, I'm off the clock today. Right. So as a digital person, not saying that your job is 24/7, right, but imagine if somebody died. Imagine if a world event Davonte could be afternoons, but the night person gonna have to take care of that breaking news if he's not on the air. I have to make sure that my team is prepared for any breaking news that might happen. I got to make sure that I get with the program director and on their personality say, hey, this happened, this person died, we got it up on the site, we sending a text blast and the app push notification, we got that ready. You can go on the air and say, go to the website for more details. I got to be able to work and do all of those things. So for my job, it ain't really over. It's never ending. You really sometimes have to force yourself to put the phone down, to put the laptop down, and that's some things.
Especially when you got a family, right, too, your kids, and a wife.
That's some things that I had to learn in the first couple of years. Like, you got a team, let your team help you. So, yeah. So my job ain't really done. If you see me just grab my phone from time to time, it's me really like, okay, let me see.
It's always something on there.
Yep.
Do you enjoy your job?
Yes, I do. I love.
What is it that you don't enjoy about your job?
It's a running joke that I told one of my old co-workers that I only like 10% of the people that I work with.
That's at every job.
That's at every job. It's mainly
keep it real.
But it is not to be disrespectful because I work with a lot of legendary people. But I think I hold myself and my team holds ourselves to a high standard. So when people don't meet that standard, you automatically just like, oh, but they feel that same way about us. So I think the only thing that I hate about my job is really now is not necessarily being in the office from time to time because how things change. So that's one thing. So communication can break down and things of that nature. But the other thing that I don't necessarily like about my job is the hunger. I don't think that some people, not all, I work with some great people, but sometimes you do run into people that you don't see have the hunger to do it. It's almost like they come up in there and do 4 hours and that's it. Wow. And I'm not
just to do the minimum.
Right. And I love my job. Like I love my job. I love my team. I love a lot of people that I work with and everything. And I love being able to break news. I love being able to get people information. And that is something that I always like. At first, I wanted to be the radio personality, find my face on the billboard and all of that. But now being a digital person, I love doing that. So I love my job and I love the money. So
you heard that, the money, and that's the motivation a lot of times. The money, got to have the money. And I want to talk a little bit more because I want to open it up for some questions because you guys, this is a time where you always have this opportunity, right? To have somebody like JR even come by, he's a busy man and we know this, but to be here today, to take that time out for you guys, I think that's really, really, really important. So it's an honor.
Thank you.
We're going to open it up for some questions, but I want to, before I want to go there was a time I remember in my years in radio where we didn't have to worry about the internet. As opposed to having to be able to do what we do, to take that to online.
Right.
And it really did change. And the games really changed. It did. And it also changed during COVID. Because when COVID happened, churches was getting in on the streaming. Funeral homes were getting in on because you couldn't even go to the funeral home to see your loved one because of, people had to set up a camera and a tripod. And then you see the person's funeral live because you couldn't travel.
Yeah, that was wild.
It wasn't in back row. My grandfather couldn't even go there, but you remember Granddaddy, 95, he finally succumbed to, it was crazy, but we had to do things a different way. So with that being said, the opportunities now for people to do digital,
man,
how do you do it for these guys?
So this is why I'm a humble brag a little bit.
Okay.
So when I was running and show you guys that you have to be paying attention to everything. And you know this because you was there for it. About 2013, I noticed that podcasting started to become big. So we started having students on the station, but I wanted to switch it a bit. You had to do a podcast for about 2 weeks. If you stayed interested in doing the podcast and didn't want to go live on Wendy, you could continue doing that. And it's a way for you to grow a fan base and everything. But after 2 weeks, you make that choice and then you go on WindyCityUnderground.com. Some people and staff didn't want to do that because they didn't even know about podcasting and things of that nature. That's 2013. It's almost 10 years later, and what everybody want to do?
Podcast.
So again, as Stone said, this industry is small, it's big but small. And then for most of us, now I see the majority of people of color up in the building. I ain't trying to typecast y'all because you can listen to anything and everything you want and want to be on whatever station you want to be on. But when it comes to urban, ain't a lot of urban radio station jobs out here. It's not.
Especially now
when it comes to syndication, because now even with Angela Yee, her show is going to be starting about like September, October. So she's going to be on 30 stations. Those are possibly 30 people who do not have a job because she's going to be on air. So your mornings is syndicated. Your middays is probably going to be syndicated. Your afternoons is going to be syndicated. Your nights is, depending on what you work, your nights might be syndicated. And then as Stone said, they want you to have 5 years of experience. Y'all ain't going to have 5 years of experience going out. You might not want to go to Tuscaloosa, Alabama to do radio, Greenwood, Mississippi to do radio, because Stone to tell you there's people that went on a war tour. And what I mean by war tour, my cousin Sam Silk, he started doing radio in Greenwood with the Greenwood. So I think Oklahoma City to Fort Wayne, to Chicago, to Cleveland, back to Chicago, back to Cleveland, back to Chicago, WindyCityUnderground.com, back to Cleveland. You might not feel like you want to do that. You might feel like you at the age that you don't want to do it. So 9 times out of 10, being honest, unless your brand and everything is that damn strong,
come on,
you ain't getting a job. But you know what? Digital. All of y'all got phones.
Come on.
All of y'all got access to YouTube. Podcasting is bigger now more than ever. And every podcast don't have to be a Kiki podcast. You might be interested in finance, health, wellness, fitness, wrestling, basketball, volleyball, baseball, whatever. Because you might see a Joe Budden podcast and a Drink Champs and all of those things. And yeah, that's one thing. And then all those people got brands. They former rappers and all that stuff. But you know, there's an interest in finance podcast. There's an interest in self-help. I have a wrestling podcast. I'm a wrestling geek. I have a wrestling podcast that's pretty popular and everything. So because of the internet, because of digital, you have more ways to get yourself out there. And if your dream is to still be on the radio, if you build that up in the right way, they might look at you and be like, you know what? Let me go look at that person because that person got this many followers. They podcast, do this, that, and the third. They do a whole bunch of stuff. And it works out. So, and I'm proof positive that you can take the road less traveled and get the job that either you didn't expect or you want, because nobody, and some of the people that came from WindyCityUnderground.com, because CC's a perfect example. CC went from WindyCityUnderground.com. She grinded a little bit, then she ended up being a board op and a part-time host at.
And then she was also when she was on, because CC, and if you remember, when I first started the local show on the air there,
she was helping.
She was the executive producer. I had CC out of all those people. She came on and she started doing everything. Like she did stuff like, and I'm like, man, this girl is good. She's gonna be somewhere, and I knew it was going to happen because of just her work ethic. And work ethic is a big thing too, ladies and gentlemen. In this thing, you can already tell what this man's work ethic is like. So yes, you got to put the time in, but that's how she got to be where she is. I got to open it up, though, Jay. I got to open it up for some questions. And this is the time. Yes, Scrib, who's a graduate of the school, who's been hired here at the school to do marvelous things. She's got her hand in everything, but she's an artist as well. But go ahead, Scrib.
All right, so I got 2 questions.
That's good.
First question is, you were talking about lapse in communication. How do you handle those situations where there's like a gap or something like that, and it's very important information you just on time crunch?
Sometimes it's not well. Saw me Friday, it wouldn't have been well. No, just being professional. You know, if you feel like, and it's even stuff that I got to do a better job at. You know, if you sent an email out, you sent some correspondence out, and you ain't getting it in the time that you need it, just being able to send an email to say, hey, just following up on this. I want to put this up at the top of your email. I want to do this. I want to do that, just to make sure it's out in front. Like, we do got to realize we all busy in this business. So to think that everybody's going to see your email at the time that you want them to see your email, some of it is, I know you saw it and you taking your time, but the other part of it sometimes is ego. So taking the ego out of it and being professional and everything is just knowing and understanding that people might not necessarily have the same schedule you have. Just being professional about it. Like I said, I want to put this at the top of your email just in case you didn't see it. Hey, just giving you a heads up. Send them a text. If you have their info and everything, send them a text like, yo, I just sent the email. I really need you to check it out. It's very important, things of that nature. So just following up is the key right here.
My second question is, can I get you on the episode of In the Scoop? We posted on IMS.
I saw, yeah. No, I'm with that. I'm cool with that. I'm actually happy. I actually think, and I'll talk about that as we close, but that's some stuff that helps in this industry when they see certain things like that, and I'll talk about that towards the end.
I much appreciation.
Okay. I'm gonna go with Shorty in the back first, and then bring it on down.
There you go.
Go ahead.
Oh, no.
Because your arm is up. You raise your hand. That's what.
Oh, she was in agreement. I heard her say,
Hallelujah.
she was saying amen a couple times.
All right.
I want to know, what's your greatest accomplishment?
I don't think it happened yet.
Oh, I like that.
No,
That's a good question.
I don't think it happened
It's
yet.
one of those questions where no.
Yeah, nah. You know what? I'll answer it like this. I got hired in St. Louis in January 2015. Shouts out to Art Porter. That's my man. AP helped me get that job.
Rest in peace.
Shouts out to Art Porter. Y'all there needs to be an Art Porter wing in this building. So
Wow. Yeah. Rest in peace, Art Porter.
But I got to St. Louis, and I'll never forget my homie Cam, who was in Indianapolis at the time, was like, yo, we didn't even know St. Louis existed, because like the online editor wouldn't come to calls and things of that nature. No, it would be things that we in content business and we share our content. So they ain't know existed. I grew all of the numbers in St. Louis to the best numbers that they ever had. But also from a sales side, because of how I helped them out, they had the best sales numbers that they had ever in the cluster. So helping grow that cluster digitally and help them learn how important digital was in 2015, and then getting promoted. So I was only in that position for a year, and I got promoted a year. So that would be my biggest accomplishment, helping grow and expand the St. Louis market in 2015, leading to me being promoted only a year in the company.
Oh, that's tough. That's something.
Okay, I got a couple questions.
Okay, let's get it. I see you got your notepad.
My first question is, how important is it to, have true, accurate news, within your team? Like, for instance, when you talked about the death of Miss Houston, or whatever. So if they didn't die, you did put it up out.
Didn't put it up.
Right, but even if you did or whatever, how would that impact,
You see how my eyes got big, right?
Right.
Putting out fake information is the death knell for you.
Mm-hmm.
You do not want to do that. There's libel laws and things of that nature where if you just consistently putting out fake stuff, you'll get hit for it. Just think of the lawsuit that Cardi B just won. I can't remember Shorty's name.
Girl said she had.
Yeah, that she had, and it turned out all of that stuff turned out to be false. You got to radio ain't in the sources tell me business.
Mm-hmm.
We're not urban radio ain't in that. You got to make sure all your T's are crossed and your I's is dotted. Mm-hmm. I actually give you a perfect example on WindyCityUnderground.com. I was doing mornings. People knew who I was. I was looking on Twitter and I saw that some dude said that Michael Clark Duncan had died. So I hit him on the DM, was like, yo, you good? Because I knew the person. Nah, because I didn't know he was that cool with Michael Clark Duncan. He said that was his godfather. So I was like, man, you straight? He was like, no, man, Michael Clark Duncan died. That was my godfather. Boom, 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 boom. I could have easily went on the air on the internet radio station that everybody's probably not paying attention to and saying that Michael Clark Duncan died. I could have did that, but I didn't do that. One, out of respect, and two, that can't be my source. So a couple of hours later, I'll say that late afternoon, early evening, Omarosa, who he was with, came out and said that he had died. That he just died.
Wow.
But dude said that he had died early in the day. Yeah. Another example actually is the anniversary of it was yesterday, I think it was. And this is just being in the building. We had a sports station in DC. I was in DC for 6 years. We had just bought a sports station. The program director, CJ Johnson, had texted me early in the morning. It may have been 3-4 o'clock in the morning. And I just so happened to be up. And he sent me a message, told me to call him. I called him, and John Thompson Jr., the legendary Georgetown coach, he told me that he had passed away. CJ had a relationship with John Thompson and the family because he used to executive produce his show on the sports station. So he told me John Thompson had died. Let's get something up on our socials and let's get something up on the site. He's my source. It's coming straight from him. And we were the first people to put it out. But people were questioning the legitimacy of it because it didn't come from the family. Right. It didn't come from TMZ or ESPN. Right. It came from the Team 980, even though the Team 980 is reputable. So to say that I was nervous for a couple of hours is an understatement. I'm like, man, I know CJ, I know he's not going to send me off. But damn, what if the family be like, damn, we didn't want you to put out that information right now. And then they come out and say, he's not dead yet. He's alive. Boom, boom, boom. So I was nervous, but then the family came out with the statement, if you're smart around copyright, if you're smart around libel laws and things of that nature, then you do that. Like, I'll give you the best example ever. And I'll ask y'all too, because y'all probably have an answer for it. So here's a question for y'all. When did TMZ become a reputable news source to you? Like when somebody died or whatever, what was the moment that you said, if it's not coming from TMZ, I ain't believing it?
When they announced Burning Man.
I'll tell you mine.
Chris Brown, Brianna.
That's a good one though. For me, it was the death of Michael Jackson.
That's why I said, because I was on the air at V103 at the time, and I'll never forget that. And it came, but I was watching the television,
and it didn't pop on CNN. It didn't pop on television. It was weird. It ain't pop on TMZ, none of that. I'm like, oh my TMZ God. Came out and said that Michael Jackson was dead. Yep. Said people from Cedar Sinai Hospital said that Michael Jackson was dead. Boom, 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 boom. Yep. TMZ was like what's the joint? The news National Enquirer. Yeah. It was similar to that at the time, where some of those stories really be legit, but that's how they branded themselves. Michael Jackson died, nobody believed it. Then CNN and everybody started saying a couple of hours later that Michael Jackson had died. Then you get on the radio. Yep. But TMZ was the first people that broke it. That was the moment that me and a lot of people was like, they are a reputable news source. Now, if somebody died, the first thing you gonna say is, hey man, if TMZ ain't reported, I don't believe it. Exactly. So that's why that's important.
That's why it's important. We're gonna take a couple more questions, just so because I know we got a lot of things happening, and you know you got things to do, and we moving, but. Go ahead.
Oh, this is the last one. So, okay. And with the radio, we know that the show, just must go on. What if it, I want to know if you can name a time where it was just, a point where like somebody didn't show up or somebody got an attitude and they was feuding within.
Okay, I can tell you a perfect one because I saw it in person. I won't name the people.
I want to know.
I want to know too.
I think I'm gonna find out anyway. But go ahead.
I'll tell you later.
Okay.
But I was in DC. I was in DC and I was filming some content for a show, and the personality and the producer who was also helping out on air, they were talking and they were kind of talking over each other, and then the personality yelled at the producer, "I'm trying to talk, shut up, damn!" And I turned the camera off. I was like, "Whoop, I can't put that out there." I'm not even gonna try to edit that.
Exactly.
And then later on that day, that producer came in my office. We talked it out because she needed somebody to talk to and everything. And she was eventually removed from the show. And then she, a couple of months later, she left the company. But that young lady is doing very well today because she is doing news. She's doing traffic on a news station in DC, and she's doing very well for herself. She actually went viral a couple of weeks ago because she does the traffic and she wearing she's a sneakerhead. You might have seen the video and don't know the person, but you've probably seen the video.
I think I saw the video.
But they were showing her doing the traffic and everything with her sneakers on. She's doing very well for herself.
That's good.
And that person, that's a personality, is no longer in the radio. She did have that person had a lot of things going on in their life at the time that we didn't know about. That some people did. I didn't know about it until actually talking to her again. But that was a time where it was like, oh, that was very unprofessional. But being late, I ain't never seen no situation where somebody was late for their show unless the fire alarm went off and stuff like that. Because you can't be late for your show.
You can't be late for your show. We always talk about it. Always on time. We're wrapping up now. Before you go, for those who are watching us, for those who are here, words of encouragement for those who may feel like they want to give up because, man, I didn't know this is what I got into. I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna rethink it, or is it ever going to happen for me? And then what do I mean by that? Because it's a top 3 market, right?
My advice might be rude,
but that's okay.
But it's a good rude.
But it'd be a good rule. And any advice for those people? And then for those who are even trying to think about, you know what, this is probably when I want to go. This is where I want to do.
All right. If you're feeling that way, give up. Reason why I say it in that way, because this business is not for the weak. It's not for the meek.
Ooh, you gonna have me start shouting.
Well, go ahead. What?
How would you take criticism?
It's gonna be in this right here.
There you go.
This business is not for the weak. It's not for the meek. Sometimes you're going to get, sometimes the criticism that you get is not going to be the way that you want to hear it. I've definitely got criticism in the way that I didn't want to hear it. And sometimes that's when your ego comes out the way. You don't think you got an ego. That's why I said this business, you have to have it in a certain way, but you got to know when to curb it. There's definitely been situations where I've gotten advice or some criticism where I was like, man, if I could cuss on this, I would. It's been in this building. It's been in this building. Sometimes I've gotten that criticism where I've been like, man, whatever. But again, this business is not for the weak. It's not for the meek. So if you're feeling that way, give up. Because this business is for the long haul. And what I mean by that is this. Tom Joyner was on the air in Chicago and Dallas. He flew. He did the mornings in Chicago and then flew to Dallas and did afternoon
every day.
When y'all see Tom Joyner's name on that joint, understand the story. He did mornings in Chicago, flew to Dallas, was rarely late for a show, did not voice track it. He hit the live button and was the hardest working man in radio to flat job Tom Joyner. And Tom did that for years until the syndication thing happened, which is Reach Media and all of those things. This business ain't for the weak. It ain't for the meek. You're going to run into some things where it's like it's not for you. You're going to run into some things that's great. But the minute you feel like this ain't for you, go home. Because if you feel like that now, and you just here and you feel like that now, what you think is going to happen when you graduate and then you feel like you talented and you cold and everybody in Chicago know me, and you send your air check to WGCI Power 92 or Streets 95.1 or The Light or one of the sports stations, 104.3 Jams. If you send your air check to all of them and they say, man, it sounds great and everything, but need a little bit more experience. You need to smile when you talk and you still got some growing to do. What you gonna do then?
You gotta learn how to take.
You gotta learn.
You gonna take that.
You gotta
learn
work
how
on
to
take your criticism. You gotta learn how to. You gotta learn build yourself up. You gotta learn. You have to be a self-starter. You gotta learn how to grow on your own along with what you're doing in this building. You gotta network with folks. You gotta know who is who and what is what, when, where, when, and how. And you have to stay humble, because If you don't, this business will eat you up before you get into it. And then when you get into it, you will not stay up in it long, because then you will get disenchanted, you will get heartbroken, and all of those things. Man, I thought I was going to be on Power or WGCI. I had people, no Stone to tell you, I had people coming up to me in this building and people in the industry. Hey, yo, why you ain't on one of these stations, man? Did you send your air check? Did you do this? I'm shocked. I will go to some places and the personality be up in the building with me, and they know me knowing that they know the personality. This is true. But yet, you've never heard me say my name or who I am and what you listening to in this city.
That's why the man is blessed, though.
Pivoted. I switched. I pivoted up. And that pivot turned out to be the best thing that happened to me. Yeah. Because within that pivot, I learned it here as a program director. Within that pivot, I got married, had 3 kids. I went from Chicago to St. Louis to DC, DC back. I've traveled and met a whole bunch of people. My son, who at the time was like 5 years old, was so geeked to help me film an interview, not knowing that Jadakiss was the person that we was interviewing.
Wow.
Like, yeah, Trey was holding the camera. And Jadakiss sitting up there laughing at him. All of those things don't happen if I quit. Because when at first, WindyCityUnderground.com, no lie, when I didn't get the job that I wanted, I almost was like, man, forget this shit. I'm out. But I knew I spent too much money and I put too much time in it. And what's crazy is the 2 jobs that I interviewed with while I was at WindyCityUnderground.com were, first, the online editor for Washington, D.C., and the online editor for St. Louis. Years later, I became the online editor for Radio 1 St. Louis. And then a year after that, I was promoted to regional online editor in Washington, D.C. The 2 jobs that I applied for and didn't get, I end up getting.
Oh, that's a great story. Give this man a round of applause. Wow. JR Bang. Man, bro, you know we could talk for hours. You already know this. We ain't doing a 4-hour show.
And I just saw an email and I ain't like it.
Oh, God. All right, so don't worry about it. You see it? He's getting emails now. All right, so, man, first of all, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming back home.
Thank you.
And y'all give him another big round of applause. JR Bang!
Y'all can follow me on anything and everything at JR Bang. If you got any questions or anything like that, feel free to hit me up. I'm probably going to be back and forth around here.
He'll be here.
And everything. So it's good to see y'all up there.
And network with this man. You got his ear. He's going to be leaving. Network with this man. Bro, it's always a pleasure.
It's
good to see you. This guy. You got to tell this guy. Stop. No, it's great. No. When Tinker Grant was like, okay, and we made it happen.
Yes, sir.
This is what we do. So, guys, have a good afternoon. Enjoy your weekend.